All right. Hey guys, Frank here with Tithely. We are live with you on Monday morning, and it's great to be here. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend of celebrating as a church, whether you're doing it online or I know some churches are starting to go back in person, maybe in smaller groups or things like that. I know our church is evaluating that, but nonetheless, it's great to be here. These shows have turned into a weekly show versus daily because doing them daily is pretty tough, but we're getting some great guests talking about some great things, all as it relates to doing church online during the pandemic, and increasingly talking about how we're going back to church in physical gatherings and what that looks like. Anyways, really excited about today's show. This morning, I am joined by Evan Allnutt. Evan, it is great to have you today.
Great to be here.
And did I get the last name right? I did not ask you how to say that.
I can't. I'm not going to correct you online right now.
It's okay.
We'll just say it's right, Frank. It's perfect.
Okay, beautiful. I have no pride. If I got it wrong, correct me, and I'll get it better next time. So Evan, you are the lead pastor at Northgate Church in Canada. What part of Canada are you guys in?
We're on Vancouver Island, way the sort of go west, and once you hit the ocean, take a ferry, and that's where we are.
And you're there. Wow, yeah. Amazing.
Actually, a little part of Vancouver Island goes below into crosses the border technically.
Okay.
So, I don't live in that part. I'm in the middle of the island.
Really? Yeah. And we have a mutual friend, Matt, obviously, that lives out there and goes to the church there and helps out with some of the tech stuff.
Yeah.
So really
what a blessing. What a blessing he is.
Yeah, Matt is awesome. We're very grateful to have him at Tithely.
Yeah.
And you happen to be the first guest not from the US. So today's a big day.
Canada, we the North. The Raptors get to hold on for one more year, I guess. Hey,
I don't know. I heard they're going to bring back some version of the NBA in Florida or somewhere.
They've been talking that way for the NHL. I haven't heard that for the NBA, but if Toronto just gets to hold on to it and the year is done, we're going to call that's a repeat. That's a 2 championships, right?
Dynasty. That's right. That's right. So hockey. Are you a big hockey fan? Do you have to be when you're from Canada, or
you sort of should be more than I am. I've gone through seasons back and forth, I think. But Raptors have gotten me excited now. It's kind of cool in Canada because some of those national organizations, like within baseball, within MLB, and then also within the NBA, we've got one Canadian team, and so like all Canada can rally around this like one team. Like Toronto's nothing even close to where I live. Like it's a long ways away from me, and yet they're my team. They're my local team. So
that it does create kind of a cool dynamic that the whole country is rooting for the same team, whereas in the U.S., we had the San Diego Chargers for a long time, and there was definitely a great fan base and following, but people will also love to surf and don't really pay attention to sport. Right here in San Diego, we had our own team and they didn't get the love they needed. So anyways, moving off sports, I'm sure people don't want to hear us chat about that all day, but we've got a ton of people watching live. Guys, thanks for joining us. As always, we like to give away something on these shows. So leave a comment, ask a question, tell us where you're listening from. We're going to give away a pair of Apple AirPods. I think it's the new ones, the AirPod Pros, to one lucky winner. So the crew picks those out of the comments. So the more you are active and the more you're engaging with us, the more of a chance you have to win those. And we just love engaging with you. So it's really just a way for us to say, hey, man, just come in, join us in the comments, and we'll try to interact. So Evan, why don't you talk to us a little bit about yourself, how you got into ministry, tell us about your church, and then we'll get into kind of going online.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm from Canada, grew up in BC.
Okay.
And I didn't ever plan on being in ministry. I had a call of ministry. A lot of people told me I should be in ministry since I was a teenager, and I was about the furthest thing from what I actually wanted for my life.
Yeah.
I wanted weekends off and evenings off and Christmas off and some of those things. But as time went on, it just became clear. I actually, as a volunteer, I was volunteering at a church drumming, and that's all I was doing at the church. And then they called me out of that and said, "We want you to be our youth pastor." And I was the biggest church on Vancouver Island at that point. That still is. And so that was kind of crazy. I felt like God was calling and wanted me to do something there. So we said yes. I'd been freshly married at that point. We stayed at that church for about 5 to 6 years. Had 2 kids, and then moved up island. Now we live in a place called Courtney, and there we had our 3rd kid and started leading a church. We've been here about 5 years. So we're it's funny because you think what your life should look like, and what will make you happy and all of that. And it was when we started following God's plan for our life, and like ending up here, I always said, I'm not going to be a lead pastor. And here I am leading a church, and never felt more, like I'm closer to the call of God, like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and happy to be there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. Tell us a little bit about the church where you're at now. I mean, you sound like you've been on staff at a couple, but as lead pastor, what's the church and what's the demographic and the size and those kind of things? Our audience connect with kind of, oh, they're like me, or I'm headed that direction, or it's great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I came into a church that was at the time 80 years old.
Wow.
And so it had been around for a while. And and one of the things that was really cool about the church when I showed up is that there's a woman in the church who, in my first weeks, we celebrated her 90th birthday. Wow. But she was the pastor's wife for 25 years or maybe 30 years, wow. 3 pastors ago. And so she was this woman. I often mention her when I think of the culture of our church, because a lot of people sort of struggle with that multi-generational kind of strain. And for us, we've got this 95-year-old now named Ruth, and she knew exactly what she wanted the church to look like because she led it. Her and her husband led it that way for years.
Did they plant? Is she?
No,
okay.
But they built the building that I'm in, and so previous to that, they planted, started developing, but they moved it forward in a lot of ways. Built all the building and things, but. When you're a pastor, you're pretty sure you're running it exactly how church should be done. This is what should happen. And a lot of people have a hard time with transition after that. And for her to, watch 3 different transitions happen and still be a champion for, hey, if this is where we're going, this is where, it's just amazing. So
yeah, that's awesome.
She's a big part of the church. We're multi-generational. We've got an older generation for sure. 3 years ago, we started an internship for young adults, and that helped us sort of bridge the younger gap as well. We were kind of, when my wife and I showed up, we started seeing families with kids come just because we're family with kids, and so we had this older, really strong generation. Young families started showing up. Then we started an internship, which really bolstered a sort of critical mass for young adults. And really, it feels like we're really multi-generational that way now. So, when we came, there was about 250 people. And then pretty quick, I think just excitement of a new pastor, younger, even though I'm bald, younger kind of pastor.
It adds, the beard and, the shaved head just adds a level of maturity. So
yeah, that's,
it just, it helps the whole persona.
Yeah. So lots of people get excited about us coming, I think. And we grew fairly fast in the first bit, and then we've kept having growing seasons, which, praise God, it's been fun. So we've been from about 2 to 250. Now we're about 6 to 650. Went from 1 service to 3 in our Courtney location. And in September, we got to plant in a city about an hour away called Port Alberni. Wow. And have 60 to 80 meeting there pre-COVID. And so now actually it's been a really amazing season for us that we get to kind of do church together right now. Like we've never been able to before.
I mean, I have a whole, like, this question in my head about younger couple coming in to pastor the church, to lead the church, and the impact that had on, bringing in more families, younger families.
Yeah.
But let me table that for now, just because that's probably not the core of the discussion, but I'm fascinated by kind of that little comment you made there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about going online. Like, what has that been like 2.5 months ago? We all went online. Were you doing that? And how has it evolved for you all the way to today?
Yeah. We were doing it. But it was kind of one guy running with that department, so we had actually, praise God, we had just last year before COVID, we had done this live stream upgrade. So we had gotten a couple extra cameras, and we had gotten a little soundboard that all of a sudden we were able to take worship and our preaching and everything to a live stream kind of model.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just one guy in a booth trying to manage that, and he was doing great.
And so this is like camera on stage, kind
of. No, we still had a number of angles that we were working with, and starting to learn some switching in that way. Because we have another guy who runs with kind of our media and camera stuff. But what's happened now, when this all happened, is now it's okay. We need a meeting with kind of our three guys, our live stream guy, our media and video guy, and then our sound and lights guy. And now it's solidified a kind of a team element there. And not to mention, they've become super important as far as my team goes. As far as me sitting down, I better catch those guys every week. It used to be, I better make sure I know who's, in the lobby every week, because talking with those people or manning that table or helping with next steps in that area. Yeah. Now it's like, I better know my production guys and my tech guys, because they are the doorkeepers of all the content and all that we do right now. And if we forget to get it done, it's not getting done, and so before that, I knew that when Sunday came, if we forgot to get something in the announcements or forgot to, I'm good on stage. I can just talk and tell people about it. But they became my sort of vital piece. So we pretty quick, that just meant that we started meeting a lot more together with those guys. And that was and that's been helpful. They've learned a lot in this process.
I would imagine.
And I've been thankful for all of their learning and their problem solving together, and some of the things that we've sort of added or tried to add on are just making sure that we've got a bit of our next steps portal kind of added into our Sunday services online. So we don't have the table to catch anyone at the end of the service anymore. We don't have the lobby anymore. I can't chase someone out the door anymore and say, "Wait, I saw you raise your hand. Like, you raised your hand, you got to respond." Like, now it's all online, and so we're just trying to. I think the initial meant that we had to adjust our lights and our cameras, and we had to change how we did worship and things of that nature. But as time's gone on, we've gotten more and more. We've been trying to figure out more and more. Okay, how do we do discipleship now online? How do we create next steps after a service?
Yeah. And you were mentioning prior to chatting, so it sounds like you are going into the building to kind of produce the service.
Yeah.
And did you start doing it live and then switch over into the kind of pre-recorded format?
Yeah, you're right. That was a big shift as well. We started with the live model because we still could. At the beginning it was I think it went down to 250, and then you can't have gatherings over 50, and then eventually over 10. And we were like, oh well, our worship team's not over 10, and our production team, they're up in the booth, so that's all right. And so we would just meet for a Sunday morning. Those were a fun few weeks, actually, because we'd show up and the room's empty. We've moved all the chairs back, but we've got donuts and coffee and stuff like that. It's just sort of like this inside little crew. Everyone who's there has a job, and
Right.
we're all doing this thing together. And so we'd finish a service to an essentially empty room, and then we'd say, and then they'd go, okay, cut. And they're like, yeah, that was awesome. We did it. Those were fun times.
Yeah.
But we're in a neighborhood, and eventually people started getting pretty mad at us for showing up at all to the church. So we'd be walking in.
They would see you. People in the neighborhood would see you parking.
Yeah. Why are there so many cars in the parking lot? Right? Like, why is there? Because it got to a space where it was pretty judgy for a while, right?
Yeah.
Wait a second, how many people are here, and do you care about the elderly or not? Or I thought you're supposed to be the church. And so it wasn't working to show up every week with all of our cars and all of our equipment and try to run with that. So that and a few other reasons meant that let's try pre-produced. And so we started producing our services.
Yeah. And do you produce them? Do you still go into the church to produce them?
Yeah, sort of like
back now. Do they drive in the back way?
Park down the road, come one at a time. Every 6 minutes, you can enter the store. Yeah, we do. We've tried a few different things for worship, though. So we've taken it off-site for some things, and just treated this time as a time where we've said, hey, maybe God wants to stretch our creative muscles right now. Let's try some different things. And so we've taken our worship team and our production team to like warehouses elsewhere. We've gone to our other campus in our other city. We took a small team and did it there. And we're recording like 4 sets when we do it. And so I just mentioned to our team, like, in 14 weeks, we've recorded, I think, 14 weeks of worship, and it's taken 4 teams. And normally for us, 14 weeks of worship, how we structure things would be 42 teams. And we're 1/10 the amount of administration and logistics, and then therefore meeting and drawing attention to ourselves. We're 1/10. But also, COVID's loosening up. Some things are loosening up on Vancouver Island. We were really tight in BC. And now Vancouver Island, where we live right now, is COVID free.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all we're a cycle past it all. So there's no active cases right now.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So a little less tense that way, but we've still got the regulations that our government set.
How are you guys thinking about going back if that's kind of going down and cases are at 0? And things are lifting a little bit. I mean, there's all the, not for the show, but hopefully for a show in the future, but there's the protests happening and people are gathering more outside and all this stuff's going on. So how's that affecting going back to church and physical meetings?
Yeah. Well, probably you'd know, and everyone would know that within your church, you'd have some people who are saying, what, we should have met through this whole thing. This whole thing's a scam. Yeah. And then there's some people in your church who are freaked out and like, I'm not leaving my house. I'm not going anywhere. And so as a pastor, you're trying to think of all of those people and what does it mean for us to care for everyone and be the pastor for all of these people. And so as we're navigating that and praying and thinking, we're recognizing one of the things that's true of this season, just as true that it's been hard, challenging, difficult to understand, it's also been this incredible opportunity. I just preached this Sunday, actually, and really well received. And I actually said on there, because our government's talking about this phased approach, we're gonna phase this, and then this is phase 1, this is phase 2. And my language to the church was, we're not going to phase in the physical gatherings. We're not going to phase in the church because the church hasn't been closed. The church is running at 100%. Always, the church is never part way there, and we're not going to now be part way there. And so for us, we've kind of said, let's wait until we can, fully open the doors. If we had to run within our government regulations right now, we could do meetings of 50 people. Okay. But we couldn't run kids ministry within that way. And 50 people, that's not too far from what our volunteer team is on per service,
Exactly.
And so for us to run 50 people, it's like, what's my new job? Like 12 or 13 services per Sunday. And I'm the Lysol wipe guy, and I'm just making sure everything's clean and tidy and no one's getting hurt. And then what happens if someone does, or now who are we sending away? And so one of the unintentional things someone said to me a while back, they said, Ev, one of the things I love about Northgate is every time we open our doors to everyone. Everyone come in. That's been something we've celebrated. Come on in, taste and see. You know, if you're not there, if you haven't been walking with Jesus, or maybe you're cynical, or maybe you're doubtful, whatever, come on in. Let's introduce you to him.
Yeah.
And and so people, when someone said to me, I love that every time Northgate opens their doors, they open their doors to everyone. And for me, that struck a chord as far as this reopening, or this phasing in, or this whole COVID thing. It felt like, yeah, God, I want to open my doors when we can open them to everyone. I don't want to have to pick through a list of 300 and go, well, you 50 can come, you can sit right here and sit apart. Because to me, that feels like a waste of energy, because it suggests that the only thing that the church ever had was a physical gathering. And without it, I mean, I don't know about other pastors, but for me, I'm always saying to people, guys, the Christianity is not a building, and faith is not a service, and all of these things. And here we are. God is saying, okay, really?
Nope.
Yeah. Give it a try. So we're kind of saying there's got to be something more to the Christian faith and to church than just gathering in a physical building. And so let's not fight and give 200% of our energy to gathering, and then therefore forgetting all of the other things that the church is supposed to be, and all the other elements that we can offer still.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I mean, in that thread, you're not going back until you can kind of fully open up. And I've heard that, I've heard in doing these interviews, I've heard that sentiment, and I've also interviewed pastors that opened up 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And they did it with, all the precautions and all the kind of things. So I can understand both sides.
Yeah.
But how are you kind of keeping that engagement level up? How are you guys continuing to sort of operate as the church without the building? Because, you're right? Church isn't the building. Church is the people. Church is God in us.
Yeah.
Be in our communities, being a light, loving people. So what does that look like? How are you mobilizing? How are you engaging in the community? How are the small groups still working? Like, what's all that look like for you guys?
Yeah, that's good. First of all, I think anytime that there's big change like this, it's on the pastor to be leading with vision. And so if the pastor's not communicating anything, people will just start to fall away and lose interest, or everyone goes, I don't know how long this is going to go, but I don't really like this. Because those who are used to the physical gathering, including myself, we'd rather it. We've asked the question on our team.
All missed like the hugging and and seeing the kid. Like, we all miss that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Never be replaced, of course.
Yeah, that's right. And we've said on our team, like, hey, would we, at the end of the day, if we had a new campus start up in another city, would we be okay with it being all online? And we've said, no, we want to. Our end goal is to get that gathering to be physical.
Right.
And yet we've also started calling one of our campuses online campus. So like, I think recognizing that people aren't happy. People who knew the physical gathering aren't happy with this fully. And yet when we preach with a little bit of vision, all of a sudden they can see purpose in this time. They can recognize it. So for me, that's been a thing. There's been a sermon series on my mind for like last 3 or 4 months, and I keep I can't get to it because I have to preach on COVID every single week, and so we did a series called Set Up, and we talked about how Jesus or how often God uses our setbacks as setups, and so you see that throughout Scripture, all throughout Scripture. Joseph, he's put in prison, which sets him up to meet with Pharaoh. Then we did a new series this week. We just started into another one. I thought we'd be done with COVID by now. We're not. And this series is called Not Phased. for that, we're just saying, like what I was just saying to you, no, we're not phasing into this here. God's still got purpose for us. And so I think that's first and foremost, that we are the vision carriers for the church. We're the ones entrusted by the Holy Spirit to share what he is doing in this season. He didn't bring about this season, I don't think, but he's still doing something in the season. And so how can we, the church, be receptive to that and work with that? And then we've done things like, our small groups, they're going pretty well, actually. We usually would shut down at this point, but we're actually going to go through the summer, just to try to keep that connection stronger than we normally need to.
Is everyone doing like Zoom virtual? Yeah. Is that how it's going? Okay.
Yeah. So we've moved everything to Zoom. Some groups are starting to say, can we just meet together in our backyard? And so we're right now sort of writing up policy on how we can do that well and how that's okay. Because again, some groups would meet and someone in that group will say, no, we cannot do that. And
we did just for our small group. My wife and I lead a small group in our church, and it's been crazy. We've personally not done awesome at keeping the small group engaged during this season.
Sure.
But recently, we kind of split up. We had the girls come over one night. They did outside, social distanced, but did a meal together. And then the guys came over the next night. We did a barbecue, social distance. So I feel like that kind of thing is starting to become like people are craving it, doing it in small groups.
Yeah.
Maybe at people's homes, outside in the backyard, right? Those kind of things seem to be what I'm hearing people start to do more of.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that's starting to happen for us. So we're able to promote that. This Sunday I'll be speaking on exactly that, small groups. But we've said, as far as vision goes, we've said maybe now God will release us into a greater season of small group and connection than we've ever seen. And so we've set a goal. Right now we have about 40 small groups within our church, and so we've set a goal that by January we'll have 100. Nice. And just kind of want to say to people, like, let's believe for something in this season. Yeah. Last week I said I would have never shut down the Sunday physical gathering for us to focus on small groups. I would have been afraid of the backlash and the response that people would have given.
Right.
So here we are with an opportunity that we'll never have again. Almost for sure we'll never have this again, where our physical gatherings have been forced to shut down. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a moment as leaders to say, is there something that we wish we always could have focused on, but we were too busy running services, that now it's time for us to focus on and build and create. And so for us, it's small groups. We've also, community engagement's a big piece of who we are.
Yeah.
And so that shows up in a lot of we have a lot of seasonal kind of things that we work on. And so one of those things is in September we do backpacks for kids going back to school, and we load them with all of their the stuff that they need and make sure that they're going back well. And so we've decided to bolster that up this year and just try to be more available to the city. And so we started calling around the elementary schools and high schools and making sure that they're well supplied and supported, and just trying to be that support to the city. Yeah. We also every Saturday. Oh yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I love that that concept, like serving the schools, serving kids in your community, loading up backpacks. I heard another church kind of in the San Diego area that does that pretty frequently. I just love that idea. So I wanted to just pause for a second for folks that are listening, like backpacks, kids, serving the community. And you can still do it in a social distance, safe way. So
now's the time, right? June. So now's the time to call all the principals and what do you need and how can we do that for you? And that's been a really fun thing for us. Really life-giving thing for us. We also run every Saturday. We call it soup and sandwich. So it's for people in needs to come and eat, and so we've been able to transition that to a socially distanced option and continue to feed those in need. And so smaller teams, we don't have a seating area, and we actually have less people coming. One, because our government's done a good job of supporting, in Canada anyways, of supporting people in need right now.
Yeah.
And two, because part of the reason people come to things like that is to sip their coffee and chat with people and things. And unfortunately that's not the opportunity right now. And so that's been interesting, but we've kept that going, and we're running with that still. Do I still have you, Frank? Oh yeah, there you go. Went black for a second. And then and then we've also started something as a team. We started saying, what's the greatest needs in our city? We're seeing all these pastors all over put together food hampers and things like that. And as a pastor, you can quickly go like, let's just do that. That must be the thing, right? But as a staff, we said, like, man, every week we've told people, if you know someone hurting, if you know someone struggling, contact us. We were raising money towards like COVID relief and all this. And we have very few people coming to us saying they needed groceries. But a lot of people were sad and lonely. And so we started something called Thoughtful Thursday, where we created a form where people could fill out for someone else and say, this person could use some help. And they would fill it out, and then we gave them options for different type of package that they might like. We put together that package, and then on Thursday they pick it up, write on a card that says Northgate loves you, sort of card, and then they go and deliver it. So we've been doing that 3 weeks and have given out 50 packages for like movie packages or things like that. So just trying to be hope in this season to people around, I think.
We paused for a second, but I love that idea, like these care packages that the church can suggest a friend or someone in their neighborhood or anybody, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And the church comes through and they get to deliver it. Like, I think that's really cool. I saw a lot of that right at the beginning of COVID, like just individual people sort of doing the care package or doing something and putting it on people's doorsteps.
Yeah.
Really early. But I love that that died down for sure, at least in what I've seen, but kind of doing that. So I love these ideas of just simple ways to be a part of the community, take care of people, and provide hope. Really
cool. I think fun and life is a good thing. So we've done for Mother's Day, we also did a Mother's Day drive-through. And so we put together packages with a little succulent and some macrame earrings. I think that's what it's called. And a little chocolate. And so then we're also able to support local and buy local things, and then let our moms drive through. And moms were coming through. One mom wanted to come, one grandma in our church wanted to come and give me a hug. She gets up, is it okay if I give you a hug? And I'm like, hoping no neighbors are watching, but yeah, get in here, grandma. Like, let's go.
We got to go on the side of the building to get a hug. Okay. This is not allowed in the community.
Yeah. But we're doing that again for Father's Day coming up. Just doing donuts and dad's root beers and just trying to have some fun that way. And it's been fun. The community rallies. In fact, one lady did come to us. She's a friend of someone who goes to the church, and came to us and said, I'm a mom of 4 boys. I'm a single mom. We've just had to move to this house, back into this one house, but it's run down and beat up. And we do need groceries, but we also need an oven. We don't have an oven. And so we just put it out on social media. We used to rely on Sundays to give out all of our announcements. Now more happens on our social media. We'll just throw it in our stories and say, hey, this is a need. This is what's happening. And we said, someone needs an oven. Does anyone have an oven? So we got a message almost right away from a family that said, we think we have an oven. It's downstairs. We got to clean it up, make sure it works. Like, that's great. And then before they're even done there, someone else says, hey, there's an oven being delivered. It's brand new. It's from that store. And just give me the address. And so we call back. The other ones were like, hey, we kind of got a better oven, but you hold on to that oven and we'll see. We might need another oven. Who knows what happens? So,
wow. And really cool. We can keep chatting forever, but just to be sensitive of time, we've been on for about a half an hour. But Evan, you guys are doing really cool stuff. Just appreciate your heart to, I think in listening, like, provide vision and provide hope to the community, right, during these times, and be the church in small groups. So appreciate everything you guys are up to, and just for coming on the show and joining us. Where can folks go to check out Northgate and maybe check out what you guys are doing online and your services and all that?
Ngate.ca is probably the best spot. We've got a few social media pieces off of there that you can get to if you wanted to catch up with us. Northgate Church is our Instagram. We also have Northgate Church PA, so Port Alberni. But yeah, you catch us at ngate.ca and see most of what's happening and find out the social media streams from there. And yeah, for sure.
Love it. Love it. Well, again, thanks for joining us. And for everyone that's watching live, super appreciate you guys. Pop a question in the comments. We'll try to get Evan to come back and answer some later on, but we will be giving away the AirPods. So be watching for the newsletter. We always announce it in the email newsletter, and we will catch you guys next Monday. Have a great week.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, everyone.
See you, Evan.
See you.